Imagine stepping into a quiet living room where sunlight filters weakly through heavy curtains, and in the corner sits a piano. Its once polished surface is dulled, the keys yellowed from time, the sheet music on the stand curled and brittle. No notes have filled this room for years, yet the silence hums with a weight heavier than sound. For Kazuo Morimoto, a 72-year-old retired jazz pianist, that piano was more than an instrument. It was the cage of his memories, the echo of nights spent playing to full clubs, the ghost of his late wife who once leaned against its side, humming softly while he practiced. He couldn't bring himself to touch it, yet he couldn't walk away. It sat there, an object, yes, but also a prison, reminding him of everything he had loved, lost, and left unfinished. Japanese wisdom tells us that the items we avoid touching are often the very things that guard our deepest fears. A box left unopened, a closet door never swung wide, a chair we walk past but never sit in, these are not neutral objects. They are anchors of memory. They hold the unspoken moments we cannot face, the regret of a dream abandoned, the ache of a voice silenced, the guilt of time we thought we had but no longer do. Seniors know this in ways younger people rarely can. After 60, every object in a room becomes more than wood, paper, or cloth. It becomes a mirror reflecting not just who we were, but who we chose not to be. Before we go on, if this is already striking a chord with you, don't just hit that new hype button. Every hype is more than a click, it's a way of lifting senior voices above the noise. YouTube now allows you to hype 3 videos each week, and every single one makes a difference. Your hype helps spread these stories, these truths, so that more people over 60 can find the courage to face what their clutter is truly saying. And here's the truth you don't want to miss. By the end of this video, you'll discover the one decluttering lesson Kazuo himself resisted until it shattered the silence of his home and set him free. Kazuo Morimoto's home was a museum of his own past, but not the kind that welcomed visitors with pride. In every corner lingered the echoes of a life once vibrant, broken trumpets resting in cases lined with frayed velvet, love letters from fans tucked into yellowing envelopes, and cassette tapes that no machine in his house could even play anymore. On the surface, these items looked like relics of a full and accomplished life, tokens of passion and purpose. Yet to Kazuo, they were not a celebration but a sentence. They spoke in whispers of what could no longer be reclaimed, filling his quiet home with a silence heavier than any applause he once received. To friends who visited, it might have seemed charming. What a treasure trove of memories, they would say, smiling at the piles of posters, programs, and old photographs. But Kazuo knew the truth. He wasn't keeping them because they brought him joy. He was keeping them because he was afraid of what would remain if they were gone. Without the clutter, he would be left with space that might demand he face his loneliness, his losses, and the reality that the stage of his life had long since dimmed. Seniors in the United States might not hold on to jazz memorabilia, but the burden feels the same. Instead of trumpets and tapes, it might be boxes of children's school projects, wedding dresses carefully folded in tissue, or closets stuffed with coats that haven't been worn in decades. To an outsider, these objects look like sweet nostalgia. To the one who carries them, they can feel like anchors pulling the spirit down. Every room whispers what we haven't faced, the marriage that didn't last, the parent we couldn't save, the dream that slipped away before we could catch it. Kazuo's burden is one many seniors know too well. Our homes often reveal the stories we tell ourselves about who we once were. But if every shelf is filled with yesterday, how can today, or tomorrow, ever find a place to belong? Secret 1, the mirror of shame. Every home has them, the objects that sit untouched, not because they hold precious memories, but because they remind us of something unfinished. For Kazuo, it was a battered notebook of original compositions, pages filled with melodies he never completed. Each time he walked past it, he felt a quiet pang. To others, it might have looked like a relic of his creative genius, but to him, it was a mirror reflecting shame, the songs he promised himself he would write, but never did. The Japanese call this a subtle form of spiritual clutter, the weight of unfulfilled intentions hiding inside objects. In American homes, it often looks different, but the feeling is painfully familiar. The half-finished quilt folded neatly in a basket, waiting for hands that never find the time. The unopened paint set bought with the hope of exploring creativity in retirement, now buried in the back of a closet. The treadmill turned into a coat rack, standing as a silent witness to the health goals abandoned long ago. These items do not spark joy, despite what popular decluttering trends preach. Instead, they whisper regret, guilt, or self-doubt every time we see them. The reason these objects feel so heavy is that they hold the weight of what could have been. They remind us of opportunities missed, or of a version of ourselves we wanted to become but never did. For seniors, especially, these reminders cut deep because the years ahead feel shorter, and every unfinished project feels like a tally against the time left. It's no longer just about clutter, it's about confronting the story of who we thought we would be, and realizing that some chapters will never be written. Facing this truth is brutal, but it is also freeing. The Japanese approach teaches that keeping such items traps us in a cycle of shame, while letting them go creates space for acceptance. Kazuo eventually closed the notebook, thanked it for the spark it once carried, and placed it in the recycling bin. He didn't do it with bitterness, but with a sigh of relief, because he realized he didn't need a pile of incomplete songs to prove that his music had mattered. Be honest, do you have something in your home that reminds you of what you never finished? Share it in the comments, you'll be surprised how many of us carry the same weight. And remember, clearing one object isn't enough. The Japanese believe that even a single corner of your home can expose the truth about your entire life. What happens when you finally face that corner? That's what comes next. Secret 2, the Tatami Corner Revelation. In Japan, there is a belief that a single tatami mat corner can reveal the story of your entire home. The idea is simple but startling. If one corner is burdened with dust, clutter, and hidden memories, it's rarely an isolated problem. That one neglected spot acts as a mirror, reflecting the unspoken truths about the whole house and, by extension, the whole life lived inside it. Kazuo, whose music room was packed with instruments, posters, and memorabilia, didn't begin by trying to overhaul everything. He chose just one corner, a space behind his piano where papers and boxes had been stacked for decades. At first, it felt harmless, just clutter shoved aside. But as he cleared it, he uncovered programs from concerts he had long forgotten, photos of bandmates he never called again, and drafts of letters he had never sent. What he thought was just a pile of junk turned into a floodgate of memory. For seniors in the US, the tatami principle translates into very familiar spaces. It might be a nightstand with drawers filled with pill bottles and receipts, a kitchen counter that always seems to attract piles of unopened mail, or a single dresser drawer stuffed with scarves, cards, and trinkets long past their season. These aren't just messy places. They are emotional corners, holding the things we'd rather not look at. And yet, when we finally choose one corner to clear, something surprising happens. The act of facing it makes us see everything differently. Suddenly the room feels lighter, the air feels less heavy, and the mind finds itself reflecting, if this one spot was carrying so much, what about the rest? Kazuo admitted that after cleaning his first corner, he cried. Not because of what he found, but because he realized how much energy he had wasted avoiding it. That single act became the key that unlocked his willingness to move forward. For seniors, the lesson is powerful. You don't need to start with your whole home, and you don't need to carry the shame of decades at once. One corner is enough to break the dam. One corner can reveal the patterns of holding, grieving, and postponing that fill the rest of the house. If you had to clear just one corner today, which would you choose? Would it be the drawer you never open, the closet you fear, or the countertop you pretend you don't see? Share it below. You may discover you're not alone. The next secret is harder. It's when your home becomes a shrine to the past, and you don't even realize it. Secret 3, the Shrine of the Dead. In Japan, it is common to honor ancestors through obon offerings, small altars, or preserved mementos. At its heart, it is a tradition of love and respect. Yet many elders quietly admit that what begins as remembrance can become suffocating, a shrine that holds them hostage rather than setting their spirits free. Kazuo knew this truth too well. After his wife passed, he could not bear to part with her record collection. At first, it was a way to feel her presence, the vinyl sleeves still carrying the faint scent of her perfume, the notes scribbled in the margins of the covers reminding him of evenings they spent choosing songs together. But as the years passed, the records gathered dust. He never played them. He never moved them. They became more than music, they became a wall between him and the present. His living room wasn't alive with sound anymore. It had become a shrine of the dead. Seniors in the United States may not keep obon altars, but the same burden lives in closets and spare bedrooms across the country. A wardrobe full of a late spouse's clothes, still hanging as if they will be worn again. A child's bedroom kept perfectly neat for decades after they moved away, untouched as if waiting for them to return. Photo albums sealed in plastic bins under the bed, never opened because the memories feel too sharp to touch. These spaces become time capsules, but instead of preserving joy, they trap us in grief. They whisper that moving forward is betrayal, that letting go means forgetting. Yet the opposite is true. By holding on to every object, we reduce the life of our loved one to things rather than memories, and we deny ourselves the chance to breathe again. Kazuo's breakthrough came when he finally chose to let go of half of his wife's records. He did not discard them in anger, he donated them to a local music school. Weeks later, he heard that a group of young pianists were playing from her collection, her notes guiding their fingers. In that moment, he realized that her memory was not locked in the vinyl sleeves. It was alive in the music, in him, and now in others. The shrine he built had trapped him, but releasing it gave her legacy a second life. Have you ever struggled with letting go of a loved one's belongings? Tell us what it felt like. Your story may help another senior facing the same impossible choice. But sometimes it's not about love, it's about holding on to what's broken, hoping it can still be fixed. Secret 4, the kintsugi of regret. In Japan, the art of kintsugi is revered. A broken bowl or cup repaired with gold lacquer becomes more beautiful because of its cracks. It is a philosophy that honors imperfection and treats damage as part of an object's story. Yet the truth that is rarely spoken is this: not every broken thing deserves repair. Sometimes, the most compassionate choice is release. Kazuo learned this lesson staring at his cracked trumpet, an instrument he had carried with him since his earliest days on stage. The dented bell, the split tubing, the way it no longer held air properly, it was beyond repair. For years, he convinced himself that one day he would fix it, or perhaps display it as a relic of his career. But the trumpet wasn't a symbol of beauty. It had become a heavy reminder of loss, the kind of regret that grows every time your eyes pass over it. For seniors, this pattern is painfully familiar. We hold on to chipped mugs from family gatherings, even though no one dares drink from them anymore. We keep torn blankets because a child once curled up in them, even though they no longer provide warmth. We cling to broken chairs, shaky lamps, scratched dressers, not because they serve us, but because we fear that letting go means erasing the people and moments attached to them. The irony is that these objects, in their damaged state, stop giving comfort and start giving sorrow. They turn our homes into museums of regret, showcasing what cannot be restored. Kintsugi teaches acceptance, but it also teaches discernment. When an object can be mended and made meaningful again, repair it. But when an object only serves as a wound that refuses to heal, the gold cannot help it. Releasing it is not betrayal, it is mercy. Kazuo finally placed his trumpet in the donation bin of a local charity. It startled him to let it go. Yet in that act, he felt something unexpected: relief. He realized he didn't need a broken horn to prove he had once played. His music lived in memories, in recordings, and in the hearts of those who heard him. The trumpet had done its work. Its time had passed. Do you still keep something broken, just because it feels too hard to toss? What is it? Share your story in the comments. You may find that your broken object is not a burden you carry alone. The next secret feels morbid, but in Japan, it's actually a gift of love for the next generation. Secret 5, Shukatsu, Decluttering Before Death. In Japan, there is a growing movement among seniors called Shukatsu. The word translates loosely to preparing for one's ending, but it isn't about mourning, it's about mercy. It's the practice of decluttering your life before death, not as a grim task, but as a final gift to those you love. Instead of leaving children and grandchildren to face mountains of belongings after you're gone, you lighten that weight in advance. Shukatsu is about dignity, foresight, and love in its most practical form. Kazuo came to understand this after watching a close friend's family struggle for months to sort through boxes after his passing. Every drawer revealed decisions the family didn't want to make. Should we keep this? Is it important? Does it carry meaning? The grief was extended and deepened by the burden of objects. Kazuo realized he didn't want his own children and grandchildren to carry that same load. So he began slowly, choosing small items to give away while he was alive. A record from his collection for an old student who once adored his wife's singing voice. A framed concert photo for a fellow musician. A scarf of his wife's, gifted to his daughter-in-law. Each handoff sparked conversations, laughter, even tears. The objects no longer sat in silence, they were alive again, creating new moments. For seniors in the United States, this concept may feel uncomfortable at first. Talking about death is often avoided, and decluttering with that in mind can seem morbid. But viewed differently, it is a profound act of care. Instead of leaving children with the task of cleaning out garages, attics, and closets filled with decades of indecision, you give them clarity. You give them space. Most importantly, you give them freedom to grieve without sorting through a lifetime of cardboard boxes. It is one of the last ways to say, "I love you," without words. Kazuo admitted that Shukatsu gave him peace, too. Each time he gave something away, he felt lighter, as if the act of release was also an act of healing. He saw smiles instead of sorrow, connection instead of clutter. And in that process, he began to understand that his legacy was not in the piles of things he had stored, but in the relationships those things could still nourish. Would you rather leave your family with boxes, or with blessings? Tell us below. Your perspective may inspire another senior to make the same merciful choice. But what if the clutter you hide isn't about others at all, it's about a secret side of yourself you never shared? Secret 6, the Box of Lies. Every household has a place where truth hides. For Kazuo, it was a plain cardboard box pushed deep into his shelves. To anyone else, it looked ordinary. But inside were fragments of a life he had never spoken of, letters from an old love he had walked away from, recordings of music he never dared to release, scraps of paper carrying words he couldn't say aloud. In Japan, there's a name for this, the box of lies. It is not about deliberate deception but about the private parts of ourselves we keep hidden even from family, sometimes even from ourselves. These boxes don't just hold paper and objects, they hold alternate versions of our lives, paths not taken, choices made in silence. For US seniors, this box takes many forms. It could be divorce papers tucked away in the bottom drawer, journals filled with emotions you never shared, photographs of estranged children or siblings, or letters from friendships that ended painfully. Some may even keep unopened envelopes because the truth inside feels too sharp to face. These aren't just items, they are doors into memories we would rather keep closed. But the Japanese lesson is blunt: you cannot live fully in the present if a hidden box keeps tethering you to shadows of the past. Kazuo resisted opening his box for years. He feared what his children would think if they found it after he was gone. Would they see him differently? Would they feel betrayed? The day he finally opened it, his hands trembled. The letters inside weren't damning, they were simply human. They revealed a man who had loved, lost, and struggled. By facing them, he realized that the shame wasn't in the box but in the silence he had wrapped around it. He chose to destroy some papers, gift others, and keep only one letter that carried truth he wanted remembered. In that moment, the burden lifted. He no longer feared discovery, because he had already faced himself. Do you have a box or drawer you've never dared to open? What's stopping you? Share it below. You may discover that confronting it is not about shame, but about freedom. And the final secret is the hardest, it's the fear of what emptiness might mean. Secret 7, the empty tatami. In the end, Kazuo's music room looked nothing like it once had. The shelves that had once groaned under the weight of records, papers, and broken instruments were bare. The floor, once crowded with boxes stacked like silent walls, was open. What remained was startlingly simple: a piano, a low wooden stool, and one framed photo of his wife smiling during a long-ago performance. Many would expect such emptiness to feel cold or lonely, but to Kazuo, it did the opposite. The room no longer hummed with regret or whispered accusations from objects long untouched. It sang with peace. It breathed again, and so did he. In Japanese homes, the tatami mat often represents harmony and clarity. A single empty tatami square is not wasted space, it is space for reflection, meditation, and possibility. It is a deliberate pause, a reminder that emptiness itself can be sacred. For U.S. seniors, this lesson is both radical and liberating. In a culture that prizes filling every inch of a house with things, souvenirs, furniture, decorations, choosing emptiness feels almost rebellious. Yet emptiness is not the absence of life. It is the invitation for life to flow in. Kazuo discovered that the emptiness of his room was not a void but a stage waiting for something new. He began playing again, just for himself, filling the quiet space with music instead of clutter. Friends who visited no longer squeezed past boxes, they sat comfortably, listening, laughing, reminiscing. His grandchildren rolled toy cars across the bare floor, a simple joy that clutter would have stolen. The room became alive, not because of what filled it, but because of what was finally allowed to enter. For seniors in America, the message is powerful: emptiness is not loneliness. It is freedom. When we clear a space, we give ourselves room for new laughter, new friendships, new quiet mornings with a cup of coffee and sunlight on the table. The empty corner becomes the place where a grandchild spreads crayons and paper, or where a friend sets down flowers during a visit. The emptiness is not a loss, it is the stage for tomorrow. If you cleared one space, what new joy would you want to fill it with? Would it be the sound of music, the laughter of children, or perhaps the simple comfort of waking each morning to a room that feels lighter than yesterday? Emptiness is not the end. It is the beginning. And it may be the most precious secret of all. Kazuo's story doesn't close with clutter piled on the curb, it closes with a life reclaimed. His transformation proves that decluttering isn't about erasing the past, it's about honoring it with intention. The photo of his wife stayed, because her smile carried warmth that filled the whole room. The piano stayed, because music still pulsed through his fingers. What left were the objects that no longer served him, the ones that weighed him down with guilt, shame, or silence. With every item gone, space opened, not just on his shelves, but in his spirit. He no longer lived in a shrine of memories. He lived in a home where the present could breathe. For seniors, this is the deeper truth: decluttering is curating. It's the art of choosing what deserves a place in your future, not just what lingers from your past. The heaviest memories, the ones that kept you from laughing freely, from inviting people over, from waking up with peace, are the ones you must set free. When Kazuo let go of the records, the broken trumpet, the box of secrets, he didn't lose himself. He found himself again. His home became lighter, his music richer, and his heart open enough to welcome laughter, visits, and new mornings that felt fresh rather than burdened. And now, before you go, here's how you can hype this video and support this channel. Step 1, on your YouTube app, scroll down and swipe left on the comment preview carousel until you see the hype button. Step 2, tap hype. Step 3, choose how many points you want to give. Remember, smaller creators get a bigger bonus boost. Step 4, confirm, and you're done. You get 3 free hypes every week, and every hype pushes this video higher on the leaderboard so more people can discover it. And if you hype often, you can even earn a hype star badge, showing you're one of this channel's top supporters. So, if Kazuo's story gave you clarity, don't just tap hype right now. Every hype lifts these stories, making sure more seniors discover that letting go isn't about forgetting, it's about finally making room for the life that's still waiting. Share this video with a friend who deserves peace, and subscribe to Wise Aging Seniors so you never miss the next secret. Together, we're not just decluttering homes, we're decluttering lives.